Hello, and welcome to Argumentative Texts, Basic Training Part 1. Today we'll be talking about the acronym that we'll be using throughout the semester, TRAIN. TRAIN is an acronym which will help you to identify the different elements of an argumentative text. Now, argumentative texts can come in all sorts of shapes and forms, whether they're movie reviews or book critiques or even application letters for jobs where you're trying to convince someone that you are the right candidate. Regardless, they all have these same basic elements, and we're going to talk about them today, and I'll talk about each one of them more in detail in a later video. So we're going to start off with the first letter in TRAIN, which is T, and T stands for thesis. Now, we'll have a more sort of involved definition of what a thesis is later on, but essentially what it is it's your opinion, it's what you think or what you believe. And the second letter in the word TRAIN is reasoning. Okay, so the first part is what you think or what you believe. So I think this because that's your reason. So it's the reasoning behind your opinion, whatever it happens to be. Then, of course, once you've got an opinion and you've got some reasons for it, you, of course, need to support it somehow, and you do that with arguments, which is the A in our acronym. So depending on what kind of argumentative text we're talking about, you may have 1, 2, 3, or more arguments, but they all virtually do more or less the same thing, and that is that they support what it is that you've come out to do. So you may develop it or look at it in different ways, but essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to support your opinion. And here what I've done is, and you'll see why in just a moment, but I wrote experts agree, because oftentimes when we're trying to make a solid argument, what we do is we go out and we look for other people who agree with us. So you might not want to take my word for it, but if I bring along someone else who's smarter or more experienced than me, or maybe is just someone that you put more confidence in, that expert may be able to convince you. And finally, the last part of our word TRAIN, the I and the N, are for inference. Now that's because when we're laying out our argumentative text and we're saying this is what I believe because of this and these people agree with me, then after that there's got to be a question that sort of appears in the reader's mind or in the mind of the person who's listening to us, and that is, so what? And there needs to be an answer to that question, to the so what. And so that's where we infer from the information that we've provided them, why is this relevant to them? Why does this matter to them? And I put therefore, ... because that's going to help us fill in our example. So I have an example here I'm going to share with you. It's probably not the best one, but it'll be a good one for us to get started with. So the thesis statement for my example goes something like this. I think that bananas are the best snack. Now, you don't need to agree with me, but I think that bananas are the best snack. One of the reasons that I think that they are the best snack is because they come in their own package. Now, there are probably other reasons why bananas are terrific snacks, and there are probably equally a number of reasons why they're not very good snacks. But for these purposes, now my argument needs to support what I've said so far. So I've said the bananas are the best snack because they come in their own package. So I need to support that somehow beyond saying just look at a banana, it comes in a peel. So what I've written here is this. Experts agree that the fruit of the banana grows inside a compostable peel, which is convenient for shipping and storing, thereby eliminating the need for additional packaging and waste. Okay, so kind of a wordy way of saying, yeah, bananas come in peels. I could probably come up with a number of other arguments to go along this line of thinking. I think under the circumstances for our example, it's probably fine like that. You'll get the idea. And we'll be talking about arguments in more detail in another video. Finally, the inference, the so what, if you will, is that therefore, if you want to eat a healthy snack with no wasteful packaging, you should eat a banana the next time you are hungry. So you can see, in some ways, the example that I've given you here might sound a little bit like an advertisement, and that's because a lot of advertising that we listen to is essentially built the same way that this argumentative text is. In other words, there is a thesis, there's a reason, there's some sort of argument, and there is an inference. Now, advertising is a sort of tricky kind of argumentative text because they tend to be very, very short. They're often visual, so they don't need to trouble around with long sort of paragraphs of information like I've done here. They're able to communicate it in just a few minutes to you, or a few seconds in some cases. But they are nonetheless argumentative texts. They have a thesis, they have a reasoning, they have some sort of argument or multiple arguments, and there is some sort of inference that is supposed to be made by the person who's listening or reading. So we'll talk about each of these in detail in further videos, but in the meantime, keep your train on track.